Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Vina, this is Quirky Pineapples, and today we're making vegan apple crumble muffins. Alrighty, so these muffins don't take a ton of ingredients. We just need flour, granulated sugar, baking powder and salt, some melted butter, vanilla extract, cinnamon, chopped Granny Smith apples, and applesauce. So applesauce is actually pretty important to this recipe, not just because they're apple muffins, but because the applesauce is going to act as a binder because we're not using any eggs here, and to add moisture to our muffins. Let's get started with our dry ingredients. We're gonna start with our flour, our sugar, and our baking powder and salt. And I'm just gonna give that a whisk to combine everything. So now that we've got our dry ingredients all mixed, I'm gonna start adding the wet. And so we'll start with our applesauce. It's about a cup of applesauce. Our melted butter. Our vanilla, and because our cinnamon came in this little tiny cup and I forgot, I'm gonna add the cinnamon now. All right, now I'm going to start stirring that up really gradually. I don't want to overmix the batter. I just want to make sure that it's getting nice and wet, and then I will add the apples to make sure that everything is fully incorporated. All right, so of course, try not to do like I did and forget to put in your cinnamon, because I did have to work out some of the swirls. But now that it's just slightly combined, I am going to add my apples and just work those in. There we go. All right, and then I'm just gonna let this batter rest while we make our crumble topping. That is gonna go on top of our muffins. All right, so now it's time to make our crumble topping that's gonna go on top of the muffins. So what I've got here is just flour, some sugar and salt, and melted butter. Easy peasy. So we'll go ahead and start to mix that dry. I'm gonna use my whisk again. And then I'm going to add the butter and use a fork so that I can sort of get maybe like a pebbled sand texture for the crumble. Try and get as much of that butter as we can. So like I said, you want it to start coming together and sort of looking like pebbles. And as the flour starts to sort of hydrate and soak up the butter, it'll slowly start to look like that. Just like I mentioned, I think in my last video, sometimes things don't look like they're gonna come together, but you just have to have a little bit of patience. All right, so now we've got that pebbly, sandy texture that we were looking for. Alrighty, so I've let my batter rest. I've made my crumble topping, so now it's time to start filling my muffin tin. So I've just got like a 12 slot muffin tin that's already lined with baking cups. And so I actually really like to use an ice cream scoop for scooping muffins, because it pretty much gives you the perfect scoop. And then that way you're not worried about whether you're filling your muffin cups, you know, just right and all of that. And because we let that batter rest, we should be able to get, like I'm noticing some bubbling. You should start to see that you have sort of some bubbles in your batter, and those bubbles are great because that's going to help with the rise. And so letting that batter rest really helps with that. If you don't have a ice cream scoop, then obviously you can use what you have, but you'll want to make sure that your muffin tins are not full to the brim. So you're looking for about 3/4 of the way full. And so these obviously look a little above that, and that's because they're kind of fluffed and puffed, which is a really good thing. What I'm gonna do is bang the tray a little bit just to get them to settle just a tad in the tin. Get it down to like that last bit of batter. Okay, so now that my tins are all full and I've sort of banged down the pan just a little bit to just get everything to settle in, it's time to add our crumble topping to the top. And let's see if I can do this with my hands. I usually prefer to do things with my hands. And you're just gonna put it on top of each muffin. What I like about a crumble topping is, when you have a sweet muffin that's, cinnamony and all of that, the crumble topping sort of adds sort of a nice like buttery bite to the muffins. So I definitely wouldn't skip this step. Hopefully I didn't get too heavy-handed with the other muffins so that I have enough crumble to go around. You'll find sometimes it's best to like start with a little bit, and then whatever you have left over in your bowl, you can kind of distribute, kind of go to the ones that are a little naked and don't have as much crumble on them. And of course I try to get every little bit of crumble out. Now that these are all topped with their crumble, they're ready to go in the oven. They're gonna go in for about 18 to 20 minutes on 375 Fahrenheit, right? So our muffins are out of the oven. I'm just gonna take these and transfer them to a cooling rack. That way, again, no soggy bottoms. We don't want the heat and the steam from inside of the muffin tin to, 1, continue to cook the muffins, and 2, make them wet and soggy underneath. All right, so I'm just using my offset spatula to get these onto the rack. And of course, just be careful because they are still pretty warm. And like I said, the reason we do this is because we don't want the steam from inside making the bottom of our muffins soggy. All right, so I've given the muffins some time to cool, and it's time for a taste test. All right, let's see. I think I'm gonna break it open first. Oh, wow. Oh, they're nice and moist in the inside. And one thing I noticed when I opened the oven is the whole kitchen just smelled like fresh baked apple pie. And I think ultimately that's sort of what they're gonna taste like, is apple pie, apple crumble, which, oh gosh, like, okay, let me stop talking. Let me try it. Oh gosh, these make me so happy. They're so delicious. They're cinnamony. I'm not too cinnamony. Is that a word? Cinnamony. It's a little weird to say. The apples are nice and like tart, so even though you have that sweet cakey muffin, the apples definitely balance it out since we used Granny Smith's instead of a sweeter apple. And then that crumble, like I said, kind of adds like a buttery kind of almost pie crust type of taste. I love this muffin, I think, because everything is just balanced. Like, it's not too much sweet, it's not too much tart, it's not, too much like salty butter or anything like that. Like, it's perfect. I mean, I don't know what else I can say about it. So I want you to see a close-up of these absolutely fluffy, delicious muffins. So I'm gonna ask my camera guy, AKA Husbatron, to come on in and bring the camera so that you can actually see the texture of the muffins. All right, so I got a new muffin so that you can see the inside. I'm never quite sure how to do these. but it's nice and moist. And it's got that great like cake and the apples inside. Obviously the crumble is doing exactly what a crumble does. It's crumbling and falling off. But yeah, like it's absolutely delicious. So I highly recommend making these, especially if you really love apple. I mean, some of us are not pumpkin people. Don't at me, I'm not a pumpkin person. So I think this is perfect for my apple people out there. I really just love baking with apple, whether it's pies or anything like that. This is the recipe for you. Like Husbandtron came from behind the camera so he could taste it. And then he ran back from back behind the camera. That's how good these are. So obviously, I hope you make these. If you do, please comment below and let me know whether you like them or not. Hopefully you like them. Hopefully you're not disliking them. And don't forget to like and subscribe. The full recipe for these muffins are on quirkypineapples.com. I'll do the same as I usually do and put the QR code here for you if you're watching it on your television, and I'll have a link in the description below. Thank you so much for joining me again, and have a wonderful day. Ooh. All right, so sorry. All right, so our ovens are out of our ovens.